Welcome to Eureka Street Crypto. This is my anti-professional crypto channel. I'm just a barely sane dude who fell down the cryptocurrency rabbit hole. This channel is my fumbling attempt to communicate myself outside my own head about my journey in the crypto space. It is basically my brain dump. None of this is actual financial advice.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Eureka John, and you're at Eureka Street Crypto, back again for another episode straight out of Leander, Texas. I'm broadcasting live on March 2nd, 2022 at 1:20 p.m. today, Central Standard Time, because I wanted to save my morning show for this afternoon, because this is a time when I could have Elija here with me from the Cannabis Genomes DAO and talk about his project. And this is also a very special episode. It is episode 420. And yeah, man, if you don't know what 420 is, well, you know, I don't know what to tell you, but 420 happens to be, the history of it came from, I guess, the police scanner code for, what was it? Do you know what 420 stands for in police scanner code?
I don't know. I've heard a bunch of random stories about where this came from, right? But yeah, I had no idea. That one, I think.
Yeah, it's something like possession of marijuana, or you know, I don't know. You know, I don't know. So if you know, then you know, hit it up in the comments and you know, educate us. But anyway, yes, I met Elija at DAO Denver recently, and he's also in the DAO Planet DAO with me as well, which is a resource base for people who want to start DAOs and learn about DAOs and DAO education and all that stuff. So you ask, what is a DAO? DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. It is a organization that is horizontal and relies on something like code or protocol for things like treasury, things like voting, and the movement of the organization and any large decisions. Do you have any input on what DAOs are, Elija?
Yeah, DAOs are fun. It's honestly, like, the way I describe it to people, right? This is term going around, like the future of work, and with the gig economy and things nowadays, like, right, people are working for something like Uber, where it's like you're putting in time, usually when you want, but mostly on somebody else's terms. And DAOs are a way to really, like, it puts the community, the individual in the driver's seat, where, you know, you are not working for like Uber, you're working for this yourself, basically this community, when you want, how you want, with the people you want. Sort of, it's like the gig economy of the future that you actually have ownership of. Right?
I like that. Yeah, you put it in a more of a social context than I did. So yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, we met in a DAO, and DAOs are very social, and a lot of the DAOs happen in Discord. He's also in the Bankless DAO with me. I just wanted to know a little more about how you, I want to get a little bit of background on you first before we start talking about Cannabis Genomes DAO, to kind of see how you meshed in your science background with your interest in crypto, with your interest in cannabis. So,
all right,
take it away.
Yeah, that's my sort of mishmash of things that I do and what I'm interested in. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some other photos you shared with me over at dinner at DAO Planet too. You get into a whole lot of stuff. It's really cool, to see kind of what a Renaissance person you are.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, well, I've just been way too interested in way too many different things and unable to like commit to one thing for longer than like 5 years, because that's like, you go through like 5-year phases where I'm like, okay, like it was like, working in high school and figuring out the world when I first got into the cannabis industry, quote unquote, had a pre-medical retail business in my old life, and then got into college and got sort of went down the biology route by accident. Sort of, both my parents were nurses. I was a wayward kid. I had no idea what I was doing, so I just kind of went to nursing school, and I had good grades. At least I was good at school. I just didn't know what to do, what I wanted to do. Realized nursing I did not have the stomach for it. Like, more power to everybody who is a nurse in the healthcare profession. Like, power to you. Like, you would go through so much, but like myself personally, I just knew I wasn't cut out for it. But I had all this biology credits and stuff in classes. So I switched to sort of general bio, and just luckily one of my professors was like, "Hey, do you want to come work on this research project?" I was like, "That's a thing," you know. And I got into research, like doing academic research in biology and chemistry. Published a paper, and when I was an undergrad, ended up like doing a bunch of volunteer work at Columbia Med Center in New York City to build up my chops, and got into grad school, came out here, moved out to California because well, I was always very passionate about cannabis, longtime cannabis user advocate since, you know, young age. And having gone down this academic route, it was always kind of like there's that strong stigma still, right? Especially I was from New York, you know, 15 years ago. So that was, you know, kind of applied to all these grad schools and came out to California because I felt that calling. And studied genetics out here in Santa Barbara. That's where I live now, at UCSB. So that's where I got my PhD. And towards the end of that, it was like, all right, well, I always had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit. I was the kid who sold, like, you know, candy, now and laters, and pixie sticks in middle school, you know, like to hustle. So like I always had that sort of mindset. And coming towards the end of my PhD, it was like, well, I've got this passion, this knowledge for genetics and research. And I've got this passion for cannabis, and how do I sort of put that all together with, you know, starting my own business? So I'm just tossing around ideas in cannabis genetics for a couple of years towards the end of grad school. I ended up starting this company, this lab here where I am now, Delta Leaf, in my garage, you know, when I was still in grad school. And but we've since moved into commercial space a couple of years ago. And yeah, we serve thousands of growers around the world now at this point. We do testing, like diagnostic testing, research and diagnostics for genetics. For growers, predict, you know, what the plants are going to become. And we kind of have sort of like an ancestry test now, so you can figure out what you actually have. You don't have to rely on your friend and be like, "Oh, I've got Blue Dream." You like, well, I actually go figure that out. Dream? Yeah, exactly. You know, so yeah, it's super important for medical patients, right? So yeah, actually getting access to consistent medicine, having that sort of knowing what you have is a really important question. You know, it's more than just this is cool to know. It's like, this is actually important and functional for me in my therapy, right? So yeah, that's where what we do with Delta Leaf is democratizing access to that sort of the genetic technologies, and we're generating tons of data for people. So that led, you know, after a few years of doing that, we always maintain that, you know, we don't want to be the shady data company. You know, we act as consultants. Our customers' data is their data, 100%, right? But they're just like taking it and hoarding it now. I'm like, how do I incentivize my customers to share this data? So I started, you know, being in crypto for a few years, just sort of passively learning, watching. You know, a bunch of other people have tried to apply crypto to cannabis in different ways for supply chain stuff. And now people are doing like NFTs or whatever, all these different things. But for me, it was always about the data. You know, securing people's ownership over their own data and giving them a place to, you know, you can do all that stuff on blockchain. You can give people ways to market, you know, put their own data on a marketplace essentially. And so that's become, you know, this community now, this Cannabis Genome DAO community is building this marketplace, and that I'm sort of kind of set the seed of that. And I'm just, now it's this DAO, right? It's sort of, we're trying to seed this sort of like gig economy around this whole cannabis data, you know, ecosystem.
Wow, that's a whole lot of really good stuff in there, and it's a pretty good synopsis of, I guess, a long period of time because you've been in this for a while. So you specifically moved from New York to California out of your interest in science and cannabis, correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Wow. And then you plugged yourself into an educational program that would help you pursue that dream. So you have been pretty focused since a young age, which is kind of a gift in a lot of ways, I would say. Not a lot of people are like that.
I don't know about focused, but more like meandering and being like, oh, this kind of goes together. This kind of goes together. Like,
yeah. Well, you're a hustler at the same time as an academic, and you don't see that too often either, because a lot of times academics are total eggheads and they just are completely out of touch from like day-to-day life and reality. Yeah, you moved out to California and you've combined this kind of hustle and bustle with academia, and you've created a DAO and a company based along your interest of science and cannabis. So tell me a little bit more about the cannabis data collection side of things, because I don't think a lot of people understand that. When they think of weed and cannabis, they just think of movies like Half Baked and stuff like that. and they think of these funny names and the head shops that you hear, like Blue Dream and stuff like that. So
Right.
tell me a little bit more about how data is collected and exactly what kind of data is collected.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really exactly. A lot of people don't think about it, right? But especially with cannabis. But as more people are thinking about now in the past couple of years about their personal data online, right? More people are starting to realize that this question of data ownership really pervades so many different things. And with cannabis, it's no exception, right? And ultimately, when it comes down to any plant or agricultural product, there are certain intellectual property protections that can be put on those things, right? You can get a plant patent. That is a thing. And so if you develop a new variety of grape, right? For example, the cotton candy grapes, right? Pretty sure they got a patent on that. And like there's, anybody growing that has to give royalties to the person who first patented it, right? They've got like a 7-year claim on it or something.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how plant patents work. And people are starting to do that with cannabis. And not just that, but it's because of the rapid rise of legal cannabis markets in different parts of the world, particularly the U.S. There's so many other parts of the world where cannabis has been grown natively, indigenously, historically for thousands of years potentially, that are not part of this global economy yet. And there's people that are kind of going around and visiting and interacting with these populations of people and sort of basically, I don't want to say stealing, but like, it's maybe not consciously stealing, but it's this interaction where they're taking these genetics and then bringing them to the open market and making millions and millions of dollars on them. And those original people who bred them and cultivated and stewarded those genetics historically are not participating in that economy. I think that is one major area that we're focusing on as a DAO, because we can be a global community, and we can reach out to different historical, like groups that have sort of grown these populations and get them to be involved in this global economy by just putting by basically sequencing the DNA of their strain, putting it on blockchain, and they have ownership over it, right? It's like kind of like an NFT.
Okay.
You sell it, you get royalties all the way down the line. And people are using that data. So, it's that's sort of the concept of what we're really trying to do with the DAO. And that extends all the way up to everywhere on the current, global legal markets where people are producing new products and they want to protect their IP, or they want to share that information and monetize it maybe, but in a way it's equitable, and they get their due, what they're due for their work.
Okay, so would you say that there's a centralization of the ownership of the data, maybe at the top of the industry amongst a handful of people, and you're trying to democratize that and distribute out the money being made from that out to some of the creators, I guess?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, right? It's that two-directional sort of flow where it's aligning incentives in both directions. Traditionally, it's the public-private incentive issue, and this is just something that bothered me all throughout grad school. All sort of human knowledge, right? Academic research. So much of it is locked behind paywalls, right? Research articles. You have to go pay money to download this article that was funded by public research money. Like now, I have to go as a public citizen. I have to go pay to download this article. What? It's ridiculous.
And they charge a lot for it too.
They charge a lot. They charge so much for this. It is a racket. So there's the rise of open access publishing in the past couple of years, but just as a human issue, like a humanity issue, like knowledge being locked away, people repeating the same thing over and over. And I can't tell you how many times I did an experiment. I've done experiments where I'm like, I know somebody's done this, but there was zero incentive for them to publish it, either because they were at a private company and they weren't allowed to, or because there was no incentive for them to publish like a negative result, right? There's publication bias in science. There's also these different things because of lack of appropriate incentives. In terms of sharing knowledge, right? All these people are doing experiments with private companies. So if you can incentivize people to publish that data by putting it on an open marketplace where they get paid for sharing that data in an equitable way, then whether they are from a private institution or from they're public in an individual or from an academic or whatever, right? That aligns those incentives. So whether you're this up top of whatever the way you described it, this centralization, this hierarchy, where they're aggregating data, it incentivizes them to share it instead of hoarding it and hoping that maybe one day they'll get a patent on it, right? No, you can get paid for it now. And frankly, you don't even actually have to expose the data with blockchain. You can do crazy things where it's like you keep it safe on your private server, and you just, through like this, the web of blockchain, you can allow people to run analysis on it and get the results, but they don't ever actually get the data, the raw data. They don't get to see the data.
So where is it? Is the data located in some kind of trusted execution environment? That's and by that, it's kind of by trusted execution environment, I mean a little black box. For those that don't know what that is, it's basically a black box where things can happen where even the operator of the computer can't see the data.
Right. Yes. And in that black box is essentially exists between your data and the consumer of the data. Right. So by publishing your data, like for example, on what we're using, it's called Ocean Protocol. So this is the real magic of the underlying of the tech of what we're doing with the cannabis data market. It's that sort of middle layer. So you keep your data on your machine and your computer, and our like marketplace sits in between, and you just say you upload your metadata to a secured part and says, this is the data I have. And if somebody on the other side of the market says, I want to access that data, they can access it through the market without ever actually getting your data itself. And
they don't see any of your identity or where that data comes from. They just see only the data.
At this point, we're basically baking in. We're working with the Ocean Protocol team, Ocean DAO, to kind of work what we need for our implementation. So we're a separate group. We're using Ocean's implementation, so they've got great fine-grained permissions already built in. And as we are taking that and sort of fine-tuning that to what we particularly need. So for example, I wanted to be able to. People need to be able to. Basically, hide their identity.
Because
right. So this is super important for a cannabis data marketplace.
Absolutely,
super important for things like HIPAA compliant data, right? And so things like that. There needs to be that actually their data, privacy over seeing who actually is providing it, and that stuff can be done by running like batch queries, for example, right? Saying, okay, I want to look if somebody's trying to find data to analyze. They say, I want to find all the data that meets these criteria. Just send, let me analyze that data in a big batch without, I don't even need to know where it's coming from. It can be completely anonymized, but as long as it meets this criteria of, what I'm looking for.
Yeah, because I think of possible growers in places like Texas, like where we aren't quite where California is on the laws, as far as cannabis are concerned, unfortunately, but
that's saying that, man. There's a lot of other places that are a lot stricter than Texas.
True. Go to Louisiana to test them out.
It's crazy. I mean, being on the data side and being on the genetic side, we don't work with, like, as a lab, we don't work with the plant. We don't have people like sending us plants. It's all DNA, so we can ship kits, like DNA collection kits, anywhere around the world.
Okay.
Collect samples. And so we do have customers internationally all over the globe that are sending us DNA samples. Because it's just DNA, privacy is extremely important, especially when working with data, and things like that. If anybody's going to be publishing stuff, you don't want to be getting in trouble.
Yeah. I do have a question. Like, this is not really about crypto or the DAO, but what I don't really honestly. I used to smoke quite a bit and everything like that, and kind of had some people try to educate me on some of the things, the characteristics and the traits of it. But are there some strains that are better for medicinal purposes and others? I mean, is that how the DNA genomes are used in order to try to tailor certain types of plants for specific types of illnesses or conditions? I'm very ignorant about that type of stuff.
No, you pretty much nailed it. But so that the way I like to describe it, there's hundreds of, thousands of therapeutic individual molecule compounds in cannabis.
Okay.
So THC is just one, right? Everybody in the past couple of years has heard about CBD, and that's two, right? There's actually over 100 and those are members of the cannabinoid family, like the family of molecules called cannabinoids that are only found in cannabis. There's over 100 of those that are known. Like I can run a search on the genome sequence right now and pull out over 100 different genes that have almost identical sequences to the THC gene. We don't know what they actually do. We don't know what molecules they actually make. We know it's not the THC gene. It's very similar. It's a cannabinoid gene. It makes something that's in that family of molecules, but we haven't identified what it is yet. Maybe that gene isn't turned on at high enough genes that active, right? So that's the kind of research that a lot of growers and breeders are doing right now. With our lab, for example, is they're trying to identify these new strains that maybe have these different gene sequences and then breed for them, so that they can find out what these new cannabinoids are, because there are people searching through the jungles of the Amazon and Africa looking for this rare plant that might have one new chemical that's going to be therapeutic. There are there are thousands of potentially therapeutically active molecules. The cannabinoids, terpenoids, flavonoids, alkaloids, all these different families of molecules that are found in cannabis that are known to be therapeutic, because they're found in other plants, right, too. The cannabinoids are only ones unique to cannabis, but it's crazy. Like there's so many in this one plant that are so unexplored that that's the real medical potential of cannabis, and why that there's so many applications emerging. Therapeutic applications, right? It's not just THC, it's CBD, right? There's so many potential combinations of ways you could get fine-tuned, metabolic and endocrine regulation because of this plant. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, my dad has Parkinson's. I've heard that it could be, alleviate some Parkinson's symptoms as well. So, so there's small teams of researchers in various parts of the world that are growing or searching for cannabis in the wild, looking for and analyzing it and getting specific, like you said, cannabinoid type of characteristics off of it. And they have this data, but they have no way to be able. I mean, so what you're doing with this project is allowing them to upload this data and in a way to monetize the data so it can continue funding their research, right? And it does, so they don't have to go through some larger corporation or some pharmaceutical corporation and sell that information to them. They can sell it directly to somebody else who might peer-to-peer in a way, who might be needing to use it as well.
Yeah, in a sense. Right now, that's sort of what we're trying to bootstrap, is getting people into that open source economy. And getting these other private groups, because and again, it's anywhere from individuals who are maybe trying to cultivate their own therapeutic their cannabis for their own specific reason, right? Be it for themselves or somebody that they're a caretaker of, or some group that they could, right? Say for example, like Parkinson's or autism, other things, right? If you're trying to optimize your particular varieties of cannabis for that. Whatever group it is, whether it's a person or a company or academics, trying to get all those people to start publishing more data in an open source way. Then it sort of fuels that whole open source ecosystem once more and more people have access to more data. So I think what we're trying to do there is bootstrap a lot of that. So we're it's going to be free to upload and publish data to our marketplace. And then so we're funding everything with grants right now. I'm just applying for tons of grants. Gotten a couple already, and that's all just going to sort of bootstrap that initial growth. And then once enough people are on the marketplace actually selling data, the DAO actually just takes a small transaction commission, and that goes back into funding more people using it for free.
That's pretty incredible. It really helps people to self-fund themselves just from their data. And it makes me think of the music industry and artists who have to traditionally go through record labels and all these middle people in order to actually reach their audience who will consume and use their art. And in the same way, that's what the researchers are doing by collecting this data. they're putting, in a way, their art up there and bypassing the middle people. And then,
exactly. Right? And that's the thing. It can be like, so it started with the genome data because that's what the lab does. That's what we have, this community of growers already. But it's also, I'm trying to like be like, okay, guys, I know you have a bunch of spreadsheets of just data you've just tracked from your grow. Like that's data. You can publish that. You can share that. Like, how many of you guys have locked up all this tons of data that none of you are sharing because you have no incentive to share it?
Yeah, like you could pay for your lights, with that data.
Right. Just keep a good how many notebooks do you have? I know you got them.
Yeah, that's really cool. So as far as the DAO, okay, so this could be a company which you have Delta Leaf, and then you form this DAO. So what are the purposes of the two different ones?
Well, the lab has been around for a while, right? The lab's been around since I started in 2016, for first incorporated 2017, when I was still finishing up my PhD.
Yeah.
And that was, that's the testing side of things, right? So that started, we were doing testing and generating data for people. And then just this past year, 2021, it's like, well, then it's about time to start some sort of community or way to empower people to start sharing this data that we've been generating for them for years.
Okay.
So that's when I started telling the business partners, like, hey guys, sorry, I'm working on the side project now. And like, okay, guess what? We got a grant for the side project now. Okay, guess what? There's a Discord. Get in there. There's a bunch of people joining. You guys need to go check this out. They're like, why are you spending all your time? Oh, this is super cool. The DAO's just sort of taken off on its own as sort of a side project.
Yeah.
And now it's just become this, this big passion project of mine. It's just, and then meeting so many other people in the DAO space and DAO communities has been fantastic, but that's sort of the relationship between the two, is that the DAO started as a spinoff because of the need for what was resulting from the lab,
Yeah, and I think that marijuana, cannabis, has traditionally just had this kind of head shop stigma, and a lot of the people gathering around there have kind of that, I guess, aura about them. But this DAO kind of creates a more educated, scientific approach and a place to gather of those people who are focused more on that type of aspect of it, and I think that's really cool. So you have the marketplace that is forming. Do you have any kind of roadmap for that?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, and let me maybe share a little on my screen here. I got some stuff. Okay. So it's been just getting people involved. Share screen. Might do a little tunnel vision for a second.
Okay. Yeah, in the marketplace, in order to use it, you have a token. What's the ticker symbol for that token?
It's going to be CSAT. So Cannabis sativa is the scientific name of cannabis. So CSAT is the abbreviation. But this is sort of the plan for the DAO, right? Just get people involved, get people involved in the community, get some grant money, and then deliver this marketplace as our first product. And so the DAO is the community, and it's building products to incentivize open source cannabis genome research. And the marketplace will be, this is just a little infographic summary of that, right? So open source, community owned, right? It's owned by the DAO. And there's this term going around called regenerative crypto economics.
Mm-hmm.
So regenerative systems, like a system that is perpetual, that can sustain itself, right? Sustainable system. And so that's really the goal of this, is to have it be like this economic system that fuels itself and fuels the people that are using it and building it.
Okay, so the people uploading data, they earn the CSAT token, and then the people using the data, they pay in the CSAT token. So it's this kind of reciprocal process going.
Exactly. Yeah. So in order to when you upload data, it's free. And then when you can sell it and you earn CSAT token, right? People then use the CSAT token to buy the data as well. You can even do things like staking on data, where you're sort of curating. So if somebody uploads a data set and you say, wow, that's cool, I think this is useful, this is going to get sold or used on this marketplace, right, and have transactions, you can curate that data and say, I think this is good data, and stake on it, and then you participate in the commissions that are generated.
So the staking, does that help secure the network?
It does. It does provide liquidity, right, for that for the asset, right? So the data sets, it's really interesting. They're actually ERC20 data sets.
Okay.
So they're completely fungible. It's really interesting, again, because the data is on your local machine. You're then storing this. You create data tokens. It's actually it's pretty crazy and complicated how, like I mentioned, this is built on Ocean Protocol, how all that works under there. So we're trying to abstract some of that away, and distill this down to where, you don't necessarily need to know how Ocean works, or even how a lot of crypto stuff works, right? We want it to be simple and usable by, farmers, somebody who's growing cannabis, or people in remote regions that maybe aren't necessarily tech heavy. So we're trying to simplify this down to a simple mobile app.
Cool.
Little front end where you can just go, hey, I've got this data. It can even be a picture, right? We can start aggregating image data, and upload data and participate in that economy. Because then, maybe not an individual data set might not be useful, but if you can identify that data with metadata, or your picture with metadata, right? Then somebody who's trying to run analysis says, I'm looking for a bunch of pictures that have these type of metadata. You can then participate in that transaction, right, on that marketplace.
Wow. Yeah, and so you're looking at an app, and it's built on using those. So those are ERC20 tokens built on Ethereum, correct?
It currently runs like ERC20 tokens built on Ethereum. So it's Ocean Market is interoperable with Ethereum, Polygon, Binance, Smart Chain, and Energy Web Chain right now. And we are deploying this on Near protocol.
That's what my next question was going to be, because I saw you have a partnership with Near, and so I didn't know if you were going to be migrating over to that blockchain, or how that works.
Yeah, so right now we've got the Ocean Market, sort of rebranded as the Canada Data Market, running on testnet, and so getting that. So Ethereum bridges with the Near protocol through Aurora, right? It's the Aurora EVM. So that's where we're going to be deploying the Cannabis Data Market.
Okay.
So it will be on the Aurora chain, which is bridged to all these different things, so that we can have our DAO and our smart contracts and our CSAT token on Near, and then integrate that with Ocean. So that's part of the big push that we're actually doing with Ocean, is to integrate that on Near.
Cool.
So that we can do that, because it's just, honestly, personally, like the Near ecosystem has been fantastic in supporting us, and is just, Near has fantastic technology, and I think the simplicity of using Near, setting up a Near wallet where you just have, like my Near address is FlowScience.near.
Oh, cool.
It's really easy. You don't have to get a separate ENS domain name. Like when you register it, that's it. It's super easy. It's cheap. It's fast. It's really secure. They've got great, zero knowledge tech coming up. They've got great DAO technology. So it's just been good for us just to set everything up super easy. And it's going to be, I think, really good to onboard people through that. And then once we get them into CSAT and using the marketplace, then, if there's liquidity, you can bridge to any other major chain you want. And that's sort of the plan.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people entering the crypto space or outside of the crypto space don't really know how the concept of wallets and how to use wallets and get them set up with it. And that seems to be one of the major stumbling blocks as far as getting people into this type of world. How do you guys plan on going about that? Do you have some kind of wallet that would be built into the app, or?
That's exactly why we're going with Near, because the Near wallet registration experience is so easy. You can do it with you sign up, like you're signing up for any website. You get a link to your email address, and you click and you sign in, and you use that link to, then you can change it. You can save your 12-word seed phrase, which is preferred. But really, if you have no idea what you're doing, you can just get a link to your email address and sign up with, with FlowScience or Elija.near, right? Like Eurekajohn.near. And that's your wallet address. And it's just super simple. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I know it all kind of ties back around to this integration of being kind of a hustler with an academic, you know.
Well, yeah, like I thought, yeah, there's so many reasons to that so many people are building on Ethereum, right? It's
Yeah.
it's the biggest chain out there right now, and for me, it's there's so many of those usability issues, right? And joining up with DAOs and learning about DAO onboarding, right, and getting people into these communities, and what are the barriers to that? It's like, well, there's these education barriers, and also it's just like, well, people are it's just confusing. It's a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing with wallets and all this stuff all the way down the line, right? It's turtles all the way down.
Yeah, people are saying, I'm into cannabis. I don't want to learn about, wallets and, blockchain.
But they know how to sign up for a website.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm coming up on time here, but how can people reach you and get information about your project and all that stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at flow_science. I did have the old FlowScience, but I had that years ago and I blocked myself out of that account. So flow_science. And the website for Cannabis Genome DAO is cannabisgeno.me. So it's Cannabis Genome, but at the very end, it's the .me.
Okay.
With the website address.
And then the Discord as well. I just jumped in your Discord server earlier this morning, and I'm gonna, start messing around in there. So
nice. Yeah. CSAT Genome is the Twitter for the Cannabis Genome DAO. Links to the link tree, all these documents and stuff. This stuff I screen shared earlier. So check it out. Definitely hop in the Discord, start asking questions. Again, it's just it's community. It's like gig economy. You just kind of show up, contribute how you want, ask questions, and learn along the way. And the great thing about crypto is oftentimes you get paid to learn.
Yeah. I mean, that's the great thing about DAOs for sure too. If you just start contributing, if you hang around a DAO and you start seeing what needs to be done, a lot of times you could just take notes in meetings, and then suddenly you'll start seeing some currency, flow your way. And it's a buildup of community. And in this DAO, it seems like there would be a lot of like-minded people. You don't have to know crypto. You could just jump in with an interest in cannabis and just start, like you said, asking questions and just learning. So that's amazing. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for joining me today.
Dude,
and
thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can get a lot of people to watch this and learn about what you're doing, because I think it's pretty incredible. So
thank you, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll take care.
Thank you for making it to the end of this program. If you actually like this content, give a thumbs up. And if you want to hear more, just hit the subscribe button. I'm available on YouTube, Odyssey, and BitChute, and on all the major podcasting platforms in audio version. Spotify specifically. If you would like to follow and leave a review, that would help a lot. I'm also available on Twitter at EurekaJohn1. That's EUREKA John, JOHN, and then number 1. My DMs are always open. Feel free to shoot me a message. If you would like to donate some stablecoin or Ethereum, please feel free to send it to eurekajohn.crypto or eurekajohn.eth. This will help with the gas costs for all these protocols that I mess around with. Because that gas adds up and I ain't rich. Yet. Thanks again.